And welcome to Impact 2023. And we are glad that you are here with us this evening. Our normal host, Nathaniel Watkins, is not here with us at this time. Hopefully, he's on his way. But we're going to gather today. We're going to look at some of the issues that have been um, going forth. And it's interesting. There's a lot of things that's happening in the world today that we can discuss. And it's 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 so many things that we could go after. And but we're going today. Well, here's our host. He's coming in the door now, so I'm gonna let him go ahead and tell you what we want to discuss today. All right, and I just hope that this will be a blessing for you. Amen. All right.
All right. Thank you. And this is Impact 2023. Our continuing conversation. And as always, we ask for your comments and your questions. And just like always, we're just going to hop right in to the topic. There's an interesting conversation that's going on right now. Some of you may very well be aware of this one. It's an age-old conversation that's been going on, but it just has a slightly new twist to it. And this conversation has been brought about by the current events that's going on with parents and parents' choices in schools. This has been brought on by entertainment. One of the more popular shows that's on television right now is about teachers in schools, a sitcom. And they talk about this issue. But the issue is private schools versus public schools. And or to add into the mix, charter schools. That's really the conversation that's happening a little bit even more. Charter schools and just regular public schools. And for those of you who don't know, one of the features of charter schools are basically quasi-private schools that are public schools. Public schools who, in order to get into the school, you must apply or be chosen. These are not for all the students in the area. They must be often brought in from different areas, but it's basically a private school within the public system. And the conversation has always been, should we allow resources to go to public schools? What about all the students? Private schools, charter schools, because it's a higher level of education, it's specialized, blah, 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 blah. And so the conversation has gone back and forth, back and forth. The new twist, however, has now been put into play because of the new political environment, because of people who have gone on again with this parent choice and have decided that they want to have their own curriculum, their own way of teaching. They want to kind of circumvent the system when it comes to how the states are now and how parents are now choosing to recreate education. So, for example, if you were in a racist state like Florida and you wanted your child to be educated there, well, in the public school system, you're going to have some problematic portions if you want them to learn about, slavery, if you want them to learn about just any kind of discrimination. When it comes to the history lesson of the United States, you're going to have a problematic part because in Florida, they try to whitewash history. And so they don't want to try to teach people what the actual history is. And so in order to kind of circumvent that system, you have some options. You can pay money and allow your child to go to private school. If they're in a charter school, you can kind of try to circumvent the system there. But for many of us, for a long time, and I'll take for me, for example, I've been a proponent of public schools. I have been on public schools because of the fact that everyone doesn't have resources. You hear horror stories, you don't really get the specifics. I can't pinpoint and say, well, I know this person and this person, but you hear horror stories, and I've heard them from teachers about people who have been saying, well, if you public schools, the resources get taken away when kids go to private schools. You take away some of the some of the best parents may then take their kids away to private school. So you lose not only the kids, but you also lose the parents. You lose a lot of parents with resources, parents who have the luxury of having a two-parent household, and maybe one parent doesn't have to have the same work schedule and has the ability to show up at the school, has the ability to participate in school activities, has the ability to support the teachers and the other students. Well, a lot of those parents who are also in, oftentimes they're in wealthier categories, will be taken out, going to private schools, going to charter schools. So I've always been someone who says public schools need to be respected and honored and grown, and less support to private schools. If you want to go to private school, that's fine, that's great. But our resources need to stay with the public schools. You hear the horror stories again, like I was alluding to earlier. You hear the horror stories of kids who had opportunities to go to public school, private schools, or opportunities to go to a special program, and parents just won't sign off. They won't go with it. They don't want their kids to be associated with these private schools or associated with the opportunity. Or I've heard of parents they so checked out when it comes to their child's education that they won't even sign any kind of paperwork so that they can advance their education. So you hear about the horror stories. And so the kids lose opportunities. You also hear about places like in Chicago and in New York where they have lottery systems, where they have a literal lottery for kids to go to the charter or private school. And so it has nothing to do with the academic achievement. It's just a lottery system. And the lottery system is you're either going to be able to have a head start and succeed in life, or you're going to have to work super hard because you're going to be in these crummy schools that we already have here. So again, I'm a proponent of public schools. Let's try to make these schools better so that everyone has an opportunity and a chance to get educated. And it's not based on how much money your parents make. It's not based on whether or not you can get into a private school or afford a private school, or if you became more academically inclined at a younger age, because everybody doesn't click for everybody at the same age. And so I've always been a proponent of public schools. Here's the new wrinkle. And I already alluded to it. The wrinkle is private school is going to be the way to get around the fact that schools are now, in certain areas, are now going to stop teaching Black history. Schools are now going to stop teaching American history. That includes any kind of discrimination. Schools are going to stop teaching and start just, giving a mess. So that's problematic. It's problematic because then it comes back to the point of, if you have parents who are invested into your education and will sign off on you being able to go to certain public schools, then you'll learn Black history. But if you're stuck in the public school system, or if you choose the public school system, then you won't get educated. You won't get fully educated. You'll get a partial education. You will not have a history education. You will not have an understanding of what this country has been through, where this country is currently now, and how the past is now currently working with the current conditions of the country. And so that then brings up the dilemma. As a parent myself, I sit back here and I think on two sides. All right, public school, that's it. That's the way to go. I want to support public schools. We need to have everybody in the community to be able to put in on the school, but at the same time, you want your child to have a real education. You want your child to learn about real history. You want your child to be able to discuss real topics within the confines of the school. And as schools and as these extreme parents try to pull things out, and I say extreme parents because you're over the top. And you're not even teachers, and you're trying to tell teachers what to teach and do things. So when we have these extreme parents who want to try to dictate what the teachers can teach and do, and we have government officials who are now trying to rewrite the history, Black history especially, then we have to put our resources towards taking kids out of these schools. And it even comes to the function of churches, because a lot of churches before, there are a lot of churches who had their own schools, but these schools weren't free. And so it then comes to the same situation of, all right, private school, you get a good education, you're going to learn some history, and then all the public school students, they're not going to learn Black history at all. Unless they have a school system, a church that they can go to and learn Black history, unless they have parents who are going to give them the history lesson, unless they have some other mechanism for learning Black history, they're not gonna get it. They're not gonna be able to learn it. They're not even gonna have any exposure to it because of what is taken out of the schools. So the solution is the problem for me. And the question for everyone out there is that the solution? If the schools and the public school system is not going to provide our students what they need, especially when it comes to telling the truth about history, then should they be pulled out and go to private schools? That's the dilemma. Because for years, especially in our communities, when I say our communities, especially in Black and brown communities, we've relied on the public school system just because of the fact that it's tough enough. It is tough enough to get your kids educated, and it's tough enough to survive, on incomes as it is. Even when we're looking now with inflation and everything, spending money on a luxury of private schools just isn't the thing. And now it's not a luxury. Now it's becoming a necessity. And so that then comes the question: Do you continue to make private schools that'll teach the things that they need to teach, or do we fight to make public schools a place where it's going to give you at least some exposure to the education that you're supposed to have? One of the things also to consider is the money issue, and that's always been where it is. It's the financial resources. So in some states, they actually take funds. You have vouchers and other things where you can take the funds, public funds, tax money, out of the public school system and provide it towards the parents to pay for the private school system. And so you're taking away money from the public schools. And again, that's going to then degrade the schools even more. And so if Black people are not learning about discrimination, well, you'll probably learn it at home. Brown people, when we say Black and brown, that's the other minority groups are not going to learn about the history of discrimination and the true history of what's going on. Then you also have white people who are not going to learn about discrimination and the true history of what's going on. And so you have multiple groups who don't even get the base level of exposure to, hey, this was our country. These are our dark moments. These are our good moments. And this is why, this country is a good place, because we've had dark moments here. And even though we're not perfect, great, we're pretty good, because all groups have been able to move a little closer to being in a more harmonious situation. And comments. How good a school is dependent on the expectations that the school, its teachers, and the administration have for the school and its students. Private schools are really about exposing students to certain perspectives and networking. 1 + 1 = 2, whether you're in public schools or private schools. Yeah. Now that's been one of the complaints. Private schools are basically a network. You can meet up with some other people with money and resources. You bring your money and resources. We all hook up. We become friends. We rely on each other and move on ahead. It's just like having any other network. But this is an exclusive network because you have to pay. And depending on what level of payment you can pay, that's what level of network. There's a difference between going to, we'll just throw out some fake names here. It's You got Saint so-and-so school, which may be at one level. And then you may have the Majestic School of whatever is at another level. And so if you can pay $10,000 a year, you can get that one level of networking. You are able to pay $20,000 a year, you can get this next level. But if you're able to pay college level money at $40,000 plus a year, then you get at another level. And so it depends on your networking level there when you're paying this money into schools. But at the same time, with the school system is a solution. It is a solution. My son had to go to, again, I'm a big proponent of public schools. My son had to go to private school. And the private school, it was nice. It was nice. Education quality is good. The teacher he had, good, really good. He learned cursive instead of just learning regular writing like they do in the public school. It was good stuff. But at the same time, these were not people from his community. You're not meeting the same kids you're meeting at the playground. You're meeting a different type of group, a great networking group. But these are not the level of diversity and meeting different types of people. It just wasn't there. But at the same time, the solution was there. Because I know right now, they're teaching Black history. They're teaching true history. They're not leaving stuff out or whitewashing it or trying to make it seem like something that it's not. But at the same time, it's not a community school. And everybody doesn't have the opportunity to go there. And so that's where it comes problematic. And so, yes, and that's the thing about a lot of these private schools. They're just networking opportunities for some people. But some other people, they actually are good education or better education than what you can get in your neighborhood. The problem is, instead of leaving and getting a better education, we should all ideally hope to improve the education of the schools that we have in our neighborhood. We all have to struggle with this. We all have to struggle and battle. Parents, just individuals. We all have to struggle and battle with the thoughts of, do we want our kids, our grandkids, our nieces and nephews in the best possible schools that they can get so they can get educated? Or do we want to put them in situations where they may not get the best education, but it's better for the whole entire community? That's always been a question. But now it comes to, do I want my child to learn history, Black history, be taught real things, or to be lied to for the 12 or so years that they were in school? The solution and the problem. So for people like me who have been sitting here all these years, have been advocates saying, yeah, public school, public school, public school. And then now I'm faced with the fact that public school may not be the way anymore. So then, as churches and as Christians, what do we do? For years, churches have been places of a higher level of education. We've had the responsibility of not only educating people with our schools with education, but also giving them the ability to be exposed to the faith, being exposed to God, being exposed to learn about Jesus Christ. And for years, some of the best schools have been Christian schools. Some of the best schools have either come off of churches or still are a part of churches, whether it be at the preschool level, whether it be at elementary school level, and in some higher cases at the high school level. And we can go even higher. Some of the best colleges actually are Christian universities. But the responsibility then becomes, how many people, and I'm going to specifically talk to people of color. What's the responsibility that we have to all of those who can't get into those schools? We don't have so much space. We can't educate everybody in these schools. These schools are not free. So then how do we push out and try to educate others who aren't in our schools? Now, the easy answer is they should be there on Sunday, be able to go to church school. But if the parents ain't letting them go to private school, how you know the parents gonna let them go to church? We're gonna have to find other ways to educate, I believe. So here's my solution as our time goes by. I think we have to find other ways to educate, and it can't be about money. So all of those vacation Bible schools that we used to do, I think we have to do again. So all of those summer programs that we used to do, we have to do again. And we can't be out here charging, trying to make a bunch of money. We can't be out here trying to make money, period, for real. We need to be trying to cut it right even, because this is that service. These are the opportunities that we're going to have to be able to educate those. We need to even down to, and this may sound a little crazy, but I got a cousin who does it, so shoot. We all probably need to do it. Churches need to start running these leagues again, these sports leagues. I know it's a big hustle for these AAU and these other little guys out here trying to run these leagues, but I think the churches need to be running these leagues, because at least we know that you're going to get physically trained and mentally trained. We can make sure that we put into some of these kids what they're not going to get in school, what they may not be getting at home. We can bring them on the football field. We can give them on the baseball field or the basketball field or volleyball, whatever the sport is, and give them a little bit more, give them a little bit of their history, give them a little bit of their faith, but give them a lot more than just what they get from AAU, because all they're going to get from AAU or whatever other rec league is to just be running around playing sports. And 99.99% of them, the sports is not going to do anything but be fun for a little while you're a kid. It ain't going to be a career. It's not going to even get you into college. You know, it ain't going to get you a scholarship. It's just some fun things that you can run around. So at least while you're having some fun, we can put some other things into you. I think that's the solution. We have to be a little bit more creative with what we're doing, which means we have to do a little bit more than what we were doing. For so long, we've now set back, and I think we've decided as a community, all right, well, these other people are doing these services. Let's let them do it. You know, the county is doing a rec league. Let's let them do it. The city is doing a rec league. Let's let them do it. That's nice and that's cool, but there's some education now that we have to give out, because the schools are no longer going to be educating our kids on any kind of history. And the truth of the matter is, they probably shouldn't have been from the jump. You know, you getting people who don't know our history to try to explain our history or teach our history. That's crazy. And so I think that we have to start to pick up some more things that we used to do in order to reach the people who, again, won't be in our private schools, won't be at our services on Sunday or Bible study, won't be at the things. So we need to go out and make some efforts and be creative again to get back into that community. Again, I think we're going to have to run our own sports leagues. Again, we're going to have to have Vacation Bible School. We're going to have our summer programs. And we have to make sure that they don't cost a bunch of money. The African-American community must develop programs that teach Black culture. The Black church has a responsibility to be the catalyst for these programs and other opportunities to educate and inform the Black community. Absolutely. Absolutely. The church has to be able to do it. And the question then becomes how, because people aren't walking into churches like they used to just because. And so the things that we used to provide, I think we have to provide again. We used to be the only, we used to be the only summer program that you were really going to be able to have. Summer camp that you were going to be able to have. So we need to be that again. And so if we can't rely on the government and these organizations to provide for our kids. I think the churches, we have to start providing it again. And you're like, well, they already have this and they already have that. Well, let's put on our big boy pants and compete against them, because we need to make sure that our kids are going to be straight, because they're not going to get the education that they need anywhere else. I could be wrong. That's why we have this, our open conversation with, you know, our comments and whatnot. And if you think that I'm wrong, definitely go ahead and let me know. Or if you think that there's a different way or a better way, let me know. But yeah, to wrap it up, that was the battle. And I've been hearing this a little bit more. I've always heard the conversation between public schools and private schools, or public schools and charter schools. But now you really hear it in a different light, in a different way. It is, all right, do we have to move our kids into these public schools, into these private schools, and make sure that they get the education that they're no longer going to get? And again, you know, I guess I'm on the same board as or on the same page as these other guys who sit back and say no child left behind. I guess I'm bringing in the same kind of sentiment when I'm saying, all right, we can't leave all of these kids behind. We have to make an effort to make sure that they get educated, and that's through our churches and our organizations being super creative in ways to get back into the lives of our youth, of our children, so that we can make sure that they get the real education and stop getting, or, you know, not that they're getting it now, but as it turns, and as the educational system turns to a system of putting out lies or gaps in history, right? Eliminating books and eliminating educational or portions that have anything to do with, you know, some of the horrors of what have been done in this country, some of the understanding of why some of the laws and the rules are the way that they are. So some of the reasons that you don't see as much representation is not because, you know, one culture or one group acts one way or the other. It's actually because there's actually a systematic framework in this system is systematically put in place to push us down. And whether it's still that way or it has been that way, it still affects us to this day. That's the type of education that needs to be to be taught. The Bible teaches that sometimes it is the remnant that brings about salvation. Yeah. True. And you know what? And that's it. It's funny because it's whatever churches do this, whatever people get involved, whatever organizations get involved, it won't be a large number, but we can educate a large number of people. And we can affect a large number of people. Because even if we don't get, you got a family of 4 and we only get 1 kid, that kid can then touch the others, his other 3 siblings. Let them know a little something. Take a little something home. And so you're right. It's going to be a small group that has to do it. And so every church can't. You know, we all don't. All of our churches, we don't have the ability to run a sports league or do a summer camp or have a vacation Bible school. All of us don't have the numbers to do that. It's going to be a small number of us who can actually do it, but the rest of us can support those efforts. And so we'll see. We'll see how it goes. All right. Well, thank you everyone who for tuning in, for giving the comments. This is an interesting time, and I think it's something that we should always keep top of mind. And this is a conversation that we should keep going, whether it be here or whether it be in your daily life amongst family and friends, and just discuss what we need to do and what our game plan is going to be, and push. And we need to always push to get something done. As always, thank everybody for coming. And again, we have same place at 7 on Thursdays. We have Thursday Thirst, the weekly Bible study here as well, on YouTube and Facebook, and on YouTube and Facebook as well on Sundays at 10 o'clock. We have worship service. And so please join us. Please continue to join us. And again, we'll be here again next week, as we are every week, to discuss the issues at hand. All right. Thank you, and have a good one.